Hey, what's going on, guys? Last time we signed on, it looked like for everyone else that was trying to sign on that there was some kind of technical difficulties, but I hope that we don't have any technical difficulties this time around. So I see people already signing on, and it looks like everything is good to go. Let's talk love and life. I see you. Pink Lips, what's going on? I see you. Duchess, what's going on, babe? Savory, what's up? Okay. I see everybody jumping in. Mrs. Green, thanks for joining us. All right. Whitakers, I see you. It's Cat's World, I see you. All right. Jam Down Lady, what up? Well, Guan. Okay, so this is Wednesdays with Wes. I'm Donovan Hitchmaster West, and thank you for joining us for another edition. This should be a very interesting one at that, because my boy, man, Kenyatta is about to join us, all right? And we're going to get into the subject matter. The subject matter is dating, but not, for those of you who are in a relationship, those of you who are married, don't jump off really quickly, okay? There are a lot of areas where you date. It doesn't matter if you're married or if you're in a committed relationship, you still can date, okay? So I want my man here, Kenyatta, to join us and give us some more context for his journey, but also just keep something in mind. And that is, even as we're talking about dating, I hope that you're still dating, regardless of where you are. If you're single, you can date yourself. If you are in a committed relationship, of course you're dating, right? If you are courting, which is really being more in a committed relationship, dating is something that, you should be doing while you're still courting, because dating in itself is something that we're going to define. We're going to talk about in a couple seconds. But without further ado, I'm going to add my guy here, Kenyatta from Let's Talk Love and Life. Join us and we can get into the discussion. But in true fashion, by the way, it's all about your questions, your comments. All right? What's going on, Kenyatta?
Boss man, what's going on with you?
Man, life is good. As my colleague on the radio, Tiffany Baker, would say, I'm breathing on schedule. So
absolutely.
So thanks for joining us, good brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Hey, no problem at all. Listen, your event was off the chain on Sunday. I appreciate it, coming out and getting some of those nuggets and hearing some of those perspectives, the perspectives from some of the people in the audience. So
yeah,
man, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your event too, man. Thanks for inviting me out, man. The relationship script was pretty dope. Something different, something new, something fresh. I appreciate the invite, man. I liked it a lot.
Hey, no problem at all. No problem at all. So listen, everybody knows what the topic is, right? The topic is 1,000 dates, okay? And then I put a little spin on it. I said, dating to the one, right? Dating for the one, right? But 1,000 dates. But before we go into the 1,000 dates, thousandaire that you are, let's define dating, man. Let's break down dating for the audience real quick. And before those who are in a a committed relationship, they're married or engaged or something like that, don't jump off this line again, as I mentioned before, because you should be dating all throughout your relationship. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're in. Even if you're not in a relationship and you're single, you should be dating yourself. But let's define what dating is.
Well, to me, dating is very simple. I have dating as just meeting of the minds. That's just what dating is, meeting of the minds. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about, you out with your homies or anything, because, you got outings, you got gatherings with friends, you have meetings, and then you have meeting of the minds. And I think meeting of the minds is what you might see as a date.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For myself, I like that a lot too, by the way, meeting of the minds, because at the end of the day, you really need to know whether or not that person that you're meeting with is somebody that you can actually flow with.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
And even if you're dating yourself, you might say, well, how can you date yourself if dating is defined as meeting of the minds? But for me, if I was dating myself post-relationship, it would be me getting to know me after this relationship, right?
Absolutely.
During that relationship, we do change, right? We tend to, modify our behavior to some extent. There's certain things we might learn about ourselves in terms of things that we like, things we didn't like. And it's really good to take inventory after that relationship. So even for you people out there that are, not even dating anyone in particular or dating anyone at all, you know,
Right.
dating still applies in terms of that definition to what your situation is. So I'm glad that you put that out there, man.
Right. So what you see is dating?
Me, dating
Yeah.
is not just getting to know somebody, but also more importantly, taking inventory to some extent, right? So you're talking with somebody, you're getting to know them, and it's okay. You're saying, you know what, I like this. I heard something. Maybe that's not how I flow, but this is just preliminary. You know,
Right.
one of the things that I tell my audience often is that don't mistaken dating for courting. And the way I break
Not
it
at
down
all.
again is that, you know, if I have a date with Dion on Monday, then, you know, on Wednesday, if I decide to go out with Tina,
Right.
don't be upset. It's just me going out on a date. Now, if I'm courting Dion, then
Right.
and you see me out with somebody else, then I'm saying no, pause. Then, you know, we got our definition of courting a little twisted. No,
Absolutely.
I really meant to say that we're dating. My bad. You know, in that situation, if I get caught out there. But
Absolutely.
you know, for me, dating is very much something that to some extent it even falls into the category of just entertainment at that point. It's not too serious. You're just entertaining one another at that point.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so now that we define dating, right? You already know. You ready?
Yeah.
1,000 dates, dude. You put out there that you've been on 1,000 dates. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so you've been on 1,000 dates. So the first question is, yo, why did you go on over 1,000 dates, my dude? So break it down to the audience, everybody that's listening right now.
Okay.
Right? That's watching right now.
Okay.
1,000 days. How did you come to that? When did you first start? When did you start even counting?
So what it was is letting everybody know what the backstory is. My talk show was this past Sunday, and we were talking about marriage and the business. And as we talked about that, we started getting into dating first, and then move on to marriage and other concepts when people are together and how business works and all that. But I had made a comment and also talked about a book that I was going to be working on called 1,000 Dates. So and when I say that, people be like, oh, you're a serial dater, you this and this and that. The thing is that I've been single for 15 plus years of my life. And I'm not saying continuously rather, it has been in periods. I only had 2 girlfriends, right? 2 relationships,
Okay.
one when I was young and one when I got a little older. And in between and after, it's been about 15, 16 years. So I am a man that loves to entertain. I'm not big on cooking all the time, although I can cook. I like to go out and I like to eat. I'm a foodie. So I go out by myself all the time. So the way my concept of dating was, if I'm going out, well, you can join me. And that's translated into date after date after date after date after date. Some dating with a purpose, some for entertainment, some to hang out. But we talking about 15 to 17 years of being single.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's very simple. That's very easy to get to.
You know what? You make a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? Let's talk about those dating seasons, right?
Right.
Because you just not mentioning. You said sometimes I'm just dating for this, sometimes I'm dating for that. So talk to me a little bit about when you're in that season, how you're communicating with the person that you're, you know, taking out on a date, someone that you're hanging out with. How do you actually communicate that?
Well, I mean, from when I started dating in the beginning, with my first date, when I went to the gallery, which was my first date ever in life. I was a senior in high school. That was my first official
you're
date.
Dating yourself now. Now you're dating yourself, like the gallery. Like.
The gallery, dog. So the thing is that what I realized is I was always dating to get to know someone, right? It's all about getting to know that person. And I really, a lot of times, even now, sometimes I don't necessarily have an agenda, but to get to know you. And for that, I might take you on a date. And a date could be multiple things. I mean, majority of the time I spend the money, but a date could be something that's going to go get ice cream, take a walk. The concept of dating to me was just that, me going out with you to, as I said, meeting of the minds, and we could be doing anything. One time I went to the gallery when I was young. Another time I went to the pizza spot on 40th and Spruce, you know, just to get a slice of pizza. So that was a
Right,
date.
right.
I wanted to get to know. I wanted to get to know her. I wanted to see who she was. I was, again, a senior in college. Senior in high school. I had 2 dates back then. And as time moved on, and I started to go out, I started to try different restaurants. I go out by myself a lot. You know, I get, I guess a lot of times women back in the day is like, because I used to tell a female to come to my house. Oh, just come on over. And then one female, one day, she came over like 5, 6 times. We never went out. And she was like, you always go out alone. Why you never invite me out? Because I was always in the mind of being single. Like after I got out of my relationship, I was just in the single mentality. I did everything by myself. I did everything alone. I was kind of like a loner a little bit. I did go out on the social scene a lot, but when it came to dating, it was just me by myself. And one a female friend of mine said, well, Dad, you know, you never invite me out. And I was like, you know what? I don't really invite you out. You're right. And I didn't start inviting her out. I just started inviting more women out. It wasn't her because I was already, back then, we was already in the pattern of coming to the house. So it was like, you already coming to the house, my bad. You know, we skipped that one, you know, but after that,
you didn't let her see
I kept,
daylight, man?
What'd you say?
You didn't let her see daylight?
See, women got to understand, and I don't know how many women is on this live, but I'm going to tell you, the way you start is sometimes the way you end. So if you coming over to a man crib, and there's nothing wrong with coming over, cook dinner, chill out, do different things. But if he's not starting with dating you, he's probably not going to end with dating you. It's hard for some men, not all, to get out of that mindset of what is already. We are creatures of habit. And if you already been coming over, we've been chilling and Netflixing or watching TV, or we've been already cooking and I've been cooking for you, you've been cooking for me, I want that dinner. I don't want to go out and now spend money when we already been hanging out, dating in the crib. So I was really, I had to get out of that mindset because I realized I treated a lot of women like that. Although I've been on 1,000 dates, it's someone I didn't date at all. I'm gonna be quite honest with you, outside of being in the house. And I had to kind of train myself to understand, like, you know what, stop thinking single. They've been coming over. Say, look, you want to go out with me this time? I'm going out here. Once you meet me, something like that. Because I had to get in that mindset. I really wasn't doing that.
I got you. Now, we got a question. As you know, on Wednesdays with Wes, it's all about our audience, and whatever they ask is whatever we answer. So P. White Net said, you know, did any of these dates end with a physical interaction? Would you date a woman who has been on over 1,000 dates herself?
Well, a lot of the dates that I've been on did not end in sex. It just was spending money, wasting time, and that's why I like what you put, the journey to one, because that's what it really was. It was a journey of getting to know what I wanted, a journey of getting to know who I am, and really, it wasn't until probably about 6 years ago, my cousin, she's married, she wanted me to define, Kenyatta, what are you doing? Like, you going out, you spending money, you hanging out, you going out with these girls, and you don't got a girlfriend. Like, what's really going on? What are you really looking for? Mm-hmm. And I always told someone, yeah, I'm looking for a woman that's down to earth, open-minded, this and this and all that. And she's like, no, but what are you really looking for? Like, that's very broad. I get it. You want a woman that's going to support you, but what do you really want? Do you want a woman that's domesticated? Do you want a woman that's going to cook? Do you want a woman that's going to do this and do that? But early on, I'm just hanging out. So I really didn't look at it as me trying to get the draws or trying to have sex. I was just going to have a good time, and then translate it into several dates, and I may not have ever had sex with a woman. So a lot of the dates did not translate to anything physical. It really was just hanging out. And sometimes after 1 or 2 dates, she might have called me back and I might not have called her back. Or we might not have went on another date because it wasn't a connection.
Right. No, that makes sense though. But I mean, that is, at the end of the day, that is what a date is, right? A
Absolutely.
date is just finding out whether or not you should go forward or not. And it sounds like in many instances, it did what it was supposed to do. So, you know, I know Dr. Lisa Nicole said, you know, agreed, how you start is how you can end. And I think many people were like, true, facts, amen to that. You know, when you start off in a certain space, it's very hard to transition or to evolve from that space. In many instances, you know, when you've gotten into a certain kind of routine, because you're right, we are creatures of habit. And I'm not just talking about men, I'm just talking about humans, period. We are creatures of habit. So even as, you know, you're looking at that person and saying, well, I want to try these other things out. Sometimes, especially when you're making that shift a little early, you know, sometimes people are just really caught up in saying, you know what really engaged me was how we're moving right now, right? Right. And that's why it's very important from the gate that you manage expectations in terms of what is a good time for you, or what is a date to you, right?
Absolutely.
Another person mentioned earlier, defining what a date really is, because I think culturally, right, and I've mentioned this before, right? I think I mentioned this on Friday. I said culturally, as people of color, we don't date. We just kind of do this preliminary, you're my baby kind of thing, where if we go on a couple of dates, before you know it, you know,
listen,
the feelings get hurt, or we end up just, you know, out of fear, like, you know what, I don't want old girl to go crazy and go off in another direction, or I don't want him to, you know, to get upset and leave. So I'm just going to go ahead and agree with the situation. So there's a question that just came in. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Go ahead. Well, what you said was right. And that's why I wanted to do this book. And that's why, based off of my experiences, because a lot of marriages become doomed early on because the people did not date. They did not get to know each other. They did not really date. They weren't dating each other. You know, they went out and they did some checks on a checklist to make sure that, you know, they hit their top 5, and they saw certain things in that person where they knew that that's what they wanted for their future, but they really didn't get an opportunity to know that person. There was no real dating, or there wasn't a courtship. There was just, what you can do, this is what you want, this is how I want it, okay, and that's it. Or it was very surface. See, my dates might be anything from going to a Del Frisco's or going to a Philly Flavors for ice cream, or walking to the art museum and just taking a walk, or drinking coffee at Starbucks. And some women might think that that's corny, but sometimes you got to dumb it down and turn down the noise of all the outside things. You at dinner, somebody want to eat a certain way, they don't really eat like that. They want to dress a certain way, everybody put their best outfits on, and I'm not even talking about clothes. You know what I mean? And I really want to get to know who you are. You want me to go, are you going to the market? Oh, let me go to the market with you. Those are dates to me. But anyway, you had a question, I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that. And one of the questions that just came in, which is, you know, a logistics question. Who's paying for all these dates?
And that's the problem. See, this is the problem with 1,000 dates. And this is the problem with a man that like to go out and eat. I've paid for at least 85 to 90% of those dates. And that's the truth. And that's when I had to realize, and that's when my cousin had to pull my coattail, although I knew, or I thought I knew what I was doing, you know, for a while. My cousin had to pull my coattail and was like, Kenyatta, every time I turn around, you want to date, there's a different female, you hanging out, you doing these things. I asked you who you like. Sometimes you might like somebody. Sometimes it's like the date was okay and you kept it moving. But I realized you're spending all this, and this is a female telling me this, you're spending all this money. You never once told me that a woman has taken you on a date. You never once said anything about someone doing something for you when it came to dating. And I always felt that I was missing something even when going out on a date. If I take you out on at least 2 to 3 dates, it would be nice if, just out of common courtesy, you might say, oh, Kenyatta, I'm going to take you out today. And you might even want to go pay for it, and I say, no, I got that. But the offer is everything. Or you might say, you know what, Kenyatta, we ain't got to go out on a date. We've been out all month. Let me cook. To be honest with you, I really got that. But that's probably why I still stay single, because I didn't see certain things in certain women that wanted me to say, let's go to that relationship, because the relationship is the preliminary for marriage. So if I don't see you as someone I would like to marry, possibly, I'm not going to be in a relationship with you. I'd rather just stay single and just date.
Okay, that makes sense. Now we got another person. Candy Paint said, let me know when you're looking for the opinion of women who dated you. And then she starts laughing. And so I guess that's a little, you know.
She can leave her opinion. I'm sorry, I ain't got no stand, so I'm moving around a little bit. My apologies, but
okay. So Candy Paint, you don't have to be shy. Basically, he said
she ain't got to be shy. Ain't no shyness out here.
You know, but I think for everybody's room, she said I agree, and FaceTime is overused too as well. So it's an overused tool to date. That's hilarious. God Chaser said, I think you have to know what you want before you date. I totally agree with you on that. He said, you can talk to a woman and find out that she has many of the traits you desire. But for me, she said, dates come after I found out if he has, you know, my basic top 5 traits. Okay, top 5 guys.
Top 5 traits.
Give us some more.
Well, yeah, what's that?
You know, so what's that? You got to break it down on the top 5. James Sanders, thanks for joining us. He says dating is the discovery phase of any relationship. I totally agree with you, good brother. Just Jackie said,
absolutely.
That's so true. I've had interesting conflicts with guys whose definition of dating weren't compatible with mine. very important that you guys start off on the right foot in terms of really defining what are we doing right now, right?
Absolutely.
Make a lot of sense. So we got a lot of people who are amens and facts and agreeing with everything we're talking about. And James Sanders also said, or even stop through to take, the trash out. So, he's talking about just different aspects in terms of really normalizing.
I don't know if a woman gonna count that one as a date.
No, that may not be a date. But guess what? Guess what? If after you take the trash out, she says, "Hey, I have some food that I prepared. Would you like to sit down and have a bite? And y'all can have a conversation." Now, something that was initially something that you were doing as a good deed turns into maybe some quality time.
Absolutely.
You have it. Ipso facto, you got a date, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Just Jackie said, dating is just time to see if I want to spend more time with that person and in what capacity. I agree, Just Jackie. I would just say that's when you shift in many ways, and I think you're going to agree with me, Kenyatta, that you shift from spending time to investing time. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
That becomes one of the major components, right?
Absolutely.
Here comes Candy Paint. Candy Paint says, I think people tend to not date. WITG. What's WITG again?
With purpose.
With purpose. Okay, she got big thumbs. Okay, Candy Paint got big thumbs. Okay, with purpose. So it's a waste of time and money if two people don't have the same goal and are willing to pass on individuals who are not yoked with you. Okay, I agree. If you're not equally yoked, if you're not in that same season, then again, you're not in alignment, and you're going to start off on the wrong foot. So you should, dissolve that situation before it becomes a dysfunctional union, if you will, where you're fighting each other through the whole process, if you will.
And what's funny, what I want to say as well, because I just had this conversation not too long ago. A lot of the dates that I've been on, and a lot of men, was sometimes it was a waste of time where you see you got to define. It's like women that go out with you, they're not really interested in you. And how people say they go out for meal. I think people look at it as women go out for meal. I don't think that's what it is. I think women go out for entertainment. Like, I'm not doing anything this evening. He want to take me to a pretty cool restaurant. I'm not into him. I know he like me, but I'm going to go anyway. No, do not go on that date, ladies. Do not go on that date. Do not lead that man on thinking that you are interested, knowing that he is interested in you. That is a waste of his time and your time.
Pause. I need you to repeat that.
I tell women straight up, and I got female friends, and we have these conversations. Oh yeah, such and such wanted to take me out, and I'm like, oh, I thought you said you didn't like him. Well, I really don't, but he wanted to take me down such and such. I'm not really doing that. And I said, yo, don't go out with him. And if you do go out, you pay your own tab, because now you're letting him know.
Exactly.
I'm here for entertainment. I'm here to have a good time. I'm chilling, relaxing. I'm gonna pay my own tab, and at the end of the day, I'm just here for company. Because he's thinking that.
You know the sad part about that? With all of that being done, they're there with their money. They're there. They bought their own ticket. They got the receipt. They did all of that, right? They kept the distance. All that good stuff. At the end of the day, that guy's like, but she came out.
She came out.
and he still has hope.
So he still has hope.
I'm like, look, if you really, really want to go to that show, I suggest you just go to Ticketron. I suggest you go online. I suggest you reach out to your girlfriend, and because I agree with you. At the end of the day, as much as you still are creating those, you think you're saying everything. For someone that is intrigued or really would like to get to know you, at the end of the day, all they see is that there's opportunity because you're there next to them. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be with them.
Chose to be with them.
Space, they're still going to walk. They're still going to go home like, dear journal. Guess what
Absolutely. Listen, men look for a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of light. I used to do it. If a woman I'm very attracted to, and she says yes, like I could have been persistent and trying, and she always no, and then she say yes. I feel like I am breaking her down. She's going out. Yes.
And what does society teach us? Society teaches us
that the man who is persistent, right? If you just stay with it, right? You know who you want, what you want, and if you just stay persistent, eventually you'll get what you're going after. So that's a very challenging point. It's a very challenging part of this whole dating thing. Now, Dr. Lisa Nicole says, so when do you communicate if you're dating just for the sake of making friends, not being alone, or a significant other, and a long-term commitment, you know, such as marriage? Does communication up front really matter?
Well, for me, when it comes to if somebody say, well, what do you want, you know, in this situation, or what are you looking for? I just tell them I'm just looking to get to know them. Don't get me wrong. Men and women, you know, we have certain things that we think of when we see that person instantly. Like we hadn't already wifed that chick in our head. This woman, this chick is bad. In our brain, we didn't already wifed her.
Right.
And it's like, although we might have done that in our head, my thing is I still just want to get to know you. My first date, I want to get to know who you are. I want to take you out. All this telephone, this texting, let's see who you are. Let's get a chance to know each other. And by maybe the first and second and third date, within that time frame, I probably already know what I want to do with you. And it could be something long term. It could be something maybe I want. But even with that, getting to know somebody takes time. So unless I met you off the street, like if I already met you before and I know you and I went to school with you or I worked with you or I got introduced to someone else and we've been around each other, the dating might be a little different. But if I meet you off the street and I just stopped you and we exchange numbers, the first few days is really just me getting to know you, getting to know the vibe, getting to know the energy and see if there's a connection in some way. And then as time moves on, we decide to define that connection. Now, I always have in the back of my mind, ultimately, I want to be married. Ultimately, I want to have kids. You know, I want those things. So that never escaped me. I could be in a space where I know I'm just not looking for a girl. So it's really about your hierarchy of needs. Like, so at first, it could be, dating can be, to find a wife could be number 2 on my list. And then based off of, I could be dating someone, I could have dated for a while, and I probably got exhausted. It didn't work out. We dated for 8 months, and it was a waste of my time. So now it was on my second, now I might be on my 4th. It's still on the list. It's just based off of the timing or the season, as you said, it might get knocked down 1 because now career is a little bit more important. Me trying to do certain things a little bit more important.
You have some competing priorities.
Right, because it never stays that top priority the whole time because life happens. You know, you might have been in a situation and now that situation is over. You might not got that same energy anymore. That don't mean that you stop dating. It just means it might not be number 2 or number 1 on your list. It might be knocked down a couple of notches. And then once you get back into the groove and you free up some time mentally and, you know, and get some things off your table, now you can focus a little bit more back on, you know, dating a little bit more seriously. And then that might go back to number 2.
Well, I like the idea also about when you're dating and you're saying, you know what, I'm just getting to know you. So, you know, as Andomnia said, you know, people are quick to date and run away from building a foundation. And so I think dating provides the proper kind of foundation for you to do a couple of key things that are important in a relationship period. Number 1 is getting to know somebody. Number 2, developing an actual friendship, right? An actual friendship. And then number 3, having fun. You know, these are components that typically are actually missing from many relationships in terms of, you know, people that are currently engaged, married, committed, booed up, bait up, married, you know, again. But when you ask them the question, are you having fun?
Right.
Are you friends? You know, these are components that are missing in many instances. So you can actually put those components together in the dating phase and then, of course, enhance on that same thing as you're going through the courting phase. So Dr. Lisa Nicole says, dating is not about spending money, as you shared as well. It's about being creative, wiser. It's a wiser investment, and it's a safer return. But here's the other part that I liked about what you said, and that is, for the right person, going to the supermarket with them may actually be what it takes to really get to know them. And for another person, maybe just a cup of coffee, or for someone else, maybe it is that ice cream at Philly Flavor. Shout out to my man Damien over there. So, but I totally agree with you, because dating should also be reflective of the personalities that are at play, right? The actual people themselves. And if we do this cookie cutter approach to dating,
Right.
regardless of the actual personalities, the actual interests of those people that are talking, then it sounds like we're following the script, right?
Right. And some young ladies say, I disagree. I don't think men mentally wife a female. I think they mentally have sex with her first. And men are extremely
Here
visual.
we go.
Nah. First of all, it's great. It's interesting that she said that because she's not a man. But one thing I will say is there's a thing where women might say they know they want to sleep with a man as soon as they meet them, right? They already know for whatever the reason. It could be his aura, his confidence, who knows. Don't get me wrong. Men are physical. Physical and sexual is two different things, number one. So you can be physically attracted to somebody, sexually attracted to somebody. It could be completely two different things. You can think somebody's attractive. That don't mean you want to jump their bones tonight. But at the end of the day, since we are physical and we are looking at the physical and who's attractive, we do envision that woman on our arm. Like, dang, I could wake up in the morning with her. I could go anywhere with her. I could take her into trouble and take her away. You know how many men took a woman on a trip because she looked good and didn't have any sex in the beginning? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sex wasn't in the back of his mind. But at the end of the day, he looked at her first and he thought that I'm going to plan the world with this woman. That's where we got trophy wives and stuff from. It ain't about the sex. It's about the fact that she looked good. So the man had already planned out what he really wanted to do.
And not to mention, sex could be on her mind too. I mean, we're all human, but before we're human, by the way, you know, we try to be civilized, but many of us understand that we're animals first. And so if you're attracted to the opposite sex, then sex may cross your mind at some point. But at the end of the day, men also, in addition to women, do see, you know, a wife and can feel in many ways, here's somebody that I would like to invest time in and not necessarily just have sex with, or here's my next body or something to that effect. You know, men, as a man, and I'm sorry, you know, I know you're not a man, the woman that made the comment, but as a man, we are a lot more sophisticated than what the media says in your favorite TV show. But you know,
absolutely.
But some of the comments we got, and they're coming in. You know, Candy Paint's talking about, I think you're twisting the truth. Wife thoughts are after sex and arm candy attraction. She's just bugging out. I like her attitude though, because you know, you're right. Just like sometimes for many women, after they've experienced that man, they may say, oh, you know what? I think I got a husband here after experiencing the physical. Again, it goes back to where things line up in your priorities. Some people, by the way, when they see just how stable you are, when they look at your financial status,
absolutely,
that may be the thing that clicks off and says, you know what? I think I have found my beau.
And they skip the real dating. You know? They skip the real dating. They see all the other stuff, and now that's why. Listen. I know a lot of people that, again, had their checklist, saw those things on their checklist, and don't let finances and stability and something else be number 1, 2, and 3. That man ain't got to take them on no dope dates. All he got to do is be there, give us some time, and they could not have been on many dates at all, or the right type of date. They can sit down at the table. He cannot have great conversation and nothing, but just for the simple fact he's stable, he treats me well. We have, you know, he takes me out. He's spending time, he's spending money. That's a relationship. That's not dating, though. That's not really getting what you can get out of dating. Let me say that, because you really need to get all you can out of dating prior to a relationship. And I don't think we're getting what we can get out of dating from the person that we say that we really like.
I totally agree. Some people have put out there, you know, let your intentions be known. Royal Doc said that. Lita, she said, you know, communication is key, but communication is good, but understanding is key. We can communicate all we want, but if the other party doesn't understand what I'm saying, then, you know, it's like talking to yourself. I totally agree. In the dating phase, often first problem we're having is that our representatives are meeting, right? We've talked about this before, is that you're not being authentic enough. And for fellas as well as ladies, being authentic, being organic in terms of really what intentions do you have in this moment? What really does it for you? And being actually honest, even if it may not be that flattering, but at least you're saving the most precious thing of all, and that is time. How many times you've gone through the honeymoon phase, and then you get to understand or learn about somebody and realize, you know what? Like you said, it's 8 months later, and that, yeah, that was a waste of time. I can't get that time back. You know, you got buyer's remorse, so to speak.
Absolutely. Listen, and young lady said, make your intentions be known. Honestly, the woman need to ask a man his intentions. I mean, if at first, if I'm getting to know, I mean, if a woman's going out with a man, she know why she's going out with him. And I think that women need to be in a space where they can ask that man, well, what is he looking for? And whatever he's looking for, and not just in her, but what is he looking for in general? And that would dictate a lot of the pace when it comes to what moves on after that. I mean, if she believe him or not, I mean, he could say multiple things. A friend of mine just met someone, and he said he's not looking for a relationship. He just got out of one. I think he was divorced. It's been 2 years. He's not looking for a relationship, but he said he really likes her. So at the end of the day, now she has a choice to make. You know, he's not looking for a relationship. You want to be married. He's interested in getting to know you more. So now you have to define what you're trying to do. So a man may not state his intentions up front. He might just be out to have a good time, want to spend time with you, want to see what you're about, see who you are. Sometimes that woman needs to step up and say, well, what do you want from me as a woman? And I don't want to waste my time either. Everything, all the women hold everything on a man. It's like everything's on him. Everything is not on him. He already invited you out. So now you tell him or ask him what you need to ask him while he's there.
Well, I agree with you. You need to ask the questions, have the courage to have the conversation about what their interests are, as well as put out there what are your interests. Because at the end of the day, sometimes questions aren't asked for fear of what the actual answer will be. You know, Dr. Lisa Nicole says, so do you believe men are more interested in the physical or the intellectual/mental? This is aside from a sexual attraction, but an interest worth pursuing. I think from a man's perspective, at the end of the day, men, especially when you've dated a while, you've interacted, you've blah, blah, blah. I think at some point, men are going to want more than just that. You know, again, I see something, I see eye candy, I see that trophy, that's nice. But what's actually going to keep me engaged is going to be that intellectual component. It's going to be other dimensions to that person, and not necessarily just the physical. Because let's be honest, even if, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm looking across the table at what is just an amazing work of art, and I'm in my dating space, that's only going to entertain me, but so much. At some point, I'm going to look at, okay, well, what are we doing in between episodes? What are we doing in between these dates, these excursions, and things of the nature? You know, should we talk? What are we actually talking about? So I believe men want to make sure that when they do have some interaction, there are some basic things. And I'm not talking about being able to finish my business plan. I'm not talking about, you know, being able to understand, you know, what projects I'm working on at work. But I believe having some interest and being able to communicate intelligently about, you know, other things that we may have some common interest or a common passion for. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Physical attraction is just getting us in the door. You know, that's it. That's just the thing that got us in the door. When she walked by, we seen something about her that made us say, damn, I want her. But we want something more when we get in the door. You know, we want, you know, and I'm not talking about sex, as you said. You know, we looking for a great conversation. We looking for, like, you know, for men, you know, our day is stressful enough. Just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, for women, their day is stressful enough. But we want a space where we could be safe and secure and be open, where we're not going to be judged. You want to have a down-to-earth conversation. We want to be able to release, because we don't find that a lot. And we look for that in women. You know, we look for that security within a woman where we can just be who we are and put a lot of our things aside and have like a breath of fresh air. You know, we don't get that a lot. You know, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors out here. You know what I mean? And when a man go out with a woman, I mean, don't get me wrong, you have men that have different agendas. You know, you have men that may only be looking for sex. You have men with all types of things. But I'm saying, all things being even, all things being fair, I think that, you know, the physical gets us in the door, but we're looking for some intellectual, or just someone we could just trust. You know, it's hard for a lot of men to trust. It's hard for a lot of men to release emotionally. And we like to have that safe space and that non-judgmental space and have that open dialogue and conversation. When a woman be like, oh yeah, I was on the phone with him for hours. I haven't done that in a long time. You know, we spoke on the phone for 2 hours and we talked, and you know, and that's because he found that connection. He found someone he could open up to, he could talk to. That's what we really yearn to do. And a lot of times we don't get that. You know, we really don't.
I totally agree with you. I think you make a very good point about having an environment or seeking an environment, right, that is safe. So that, you know, if I find an environment that is safe and I know that you care or I know you're listening, then maybe, just maybe, I can take my armor off, right?
Right.
Maybe I can have a moment to rest, because it is crazy out there. It's mad stressful, and I need at some point, you know, for you to be that listening board, that oasis of sorts, you know, that opportunity, that triage at times, because I may be wounded as well, and create that kind of safe environment. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I know that for many women, you know, hearing a guy talk about it from that perspective may be a little disorienting. But as I mentioned before, I think many men at some point in their life, they may either identify or even be brave enough to actually communicate it themselves that they're in a similar space overall. And for women, you know, I hope many women out there that you're listening. You know, God Chaser, she talked about in terms of men being in a position or a frame of mind to look for someone for the sake of, you know, a long-term relationship or marriage. She says that comes on the tail end of being financially stable, you know, in her eyes. And I think your eyes are not, you know, just yours. I think in many people's eyes, you know, the idea that I need to have myself together financially before I really seek a long-term or permanent relationship. I think that's something that has been key. However, I do think there are some flaws in that perspective, because, you know, really, you know, there's a term, you know, you wasn't with me shooting in the
gym. Absolutely.
That's right, right? You weren't with me shooting in the gym. And that really speaks to, you know, were you with me when I was building this empire? Were you with me, you know, were you not just a cheerleader, but were you someone that actually believed in me and and inspired me, motivated me, sometimes picked me up when I wasn't at my best, as I was on my way to, you know, my greatness? And so many men, I believe, are also looking for that significant other to help them build. And culturally, it tends to be like the antithesis of what, you know, of what we really do versus what we may actually feel. So many business owners, I think, when you look at power couples, the reason why they're powerful is because they're couples in many ways. You know, there's a synergy there, there's a partnership there, there's that teamwork that kind of comes into play. And I think for many men that are on the way to being their better selves, they actually may seek a long-term or permanent relationship on their way to being, you know, financially stable. What are your thoughts?
It's funny because I'm distracted. I got distracted by this comment. It says women want the same thing, and it's crazy. You know what? Anytime, and no shot to her, because I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna make a statement off what she said. But anytime we start getting in the mindset about talking about men, women are not used to that, right? Women are so used to us having conversations about what women want, women's pain, women's hurt, and we don't have spaces where men are able to express the things that he wants and needs. And then when we start having that dialogue, the women will say, oh yeah, but women, oh yeah, but if he, oh yeah, and it's not like, well, let me hear that, because it's time to be in a space to listen to what the men want and their perspective of what's going on. So she says women want the same thing. And I'm going to tell you the difference when we start, because I think that comment came after you said armor, and I was talking about men are looking for a woman to be vulnerable with. Now, I'm not saying this is not like both these things can't live in the same space. But what I want women to understand is that when it comes to men and men wanting to find someone that they can release and open up to, I believe that it's harder for us because we never have that space. Like women have a lot of times they have a wall up, right? And they have brought that wall down for a few men within their life, and they may have been hurt. Men, we may not only brought that wall down once, and if we got judged, and if the wrong response came out that woman's mouth the wrong way, and we were not able to express ourselves, that man probably would never communicate with you ever again. And he was shut down. And you know who he's communicating with? He's leaving out talking to somebody else, and he's at another woman's house that is listening to him because he said something to you and you judged him. And I think that we are more fragile with our loyalty. We're more fragile with our vulnerability. And I think that we don't let that guard down as much as women think that we do. We really don't. You know, a man will really let you win and let you see him. And if you mess that opportunity up that one time, you would never get it back. But we yearn for that. We want to be able to do those things without judgment in a safe space. And we don't get that a lot. And I'm not saying women don't look for the same thing, because they do, but I think that we are more fragile when it comes to that, because it's hard for us sometimes as men to be vulnerable. And not for everyone, but it is hard for a lot of men to be vulnerable, particularly if a woman looked at us and we got passed judgment on and our opinion didn't feel like it counted when we really were expressing ourselves and being somewhat emotionally or vulnerable to that woman.
I agree with you. I agree with you that ultimately it is about, you know, how do you in that moment, if I decide to take off my armor, if I decide to actually communicate with you in a way that's very transparent, is very vulnerable. I'm keeping it real with you. I'm as is, no frills. I'm just keeping it a bean. And your response is like, wow, like really? You know, like, what's this? You know, you look a little sensitive right now. Do you need a hug? Whatever it might be. And I think in many instances, because from society's perspective also, right? Men are supposed to be stoic and, you know, just emotionless and not able to communicate. But then the reality is that when you really think about it, if men go throughout their whole life not really communicating, over time it's like a balloon that just keeps getting filled with more and more air. Well, that ultimately that balloon becomes extremely, extremely sensitive, and men subconsciously and some consciously, you know, are looking for a release, and it's a different kind of release, ladies. So I hope you guys are getting that. Now,
and that's the point of dating. You know what I mean? That's the point of dating. And I had to be vulnerable to let a woman, you know how hard it is to let somebody know I've been single for 15 or 16, 17 years of my life? You know how hard it is to even say somebody that, or be open to say I've been on a certain amount of dates, because judgment comes instantly. And it's hard to express that and be vulnerable. I'm just a different part of my life. I mean, I'm the type of person that's a little bit, you know, pretty much open and transparent to who I am. Take me or leave me. You understand? But I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're about to take a question.
No. But you make a good point, and that is, you know, I think as a society overall, we need to practice what they say in the Bible, right? Seek first to understand, right? And if we could just actually just try to understand as opposed to, you know, rush to judgment, we'll be in a better place. Now, it's Cat's World says, I've noticed that a lot of men say what they don't like and what they can't do, what they don't do, but they never talk about what they can do and what they like. How can we change these conversations? Absolutely, we could talk. So let's talk, Kenyatta, about what you do like and what you can do and all that good stuff. I like your question. Cat's World. So let's start from that space as well. Well, we only have a couple minutes, but let's talk about those things.
And so one thing I noticed, it took me some time, number one, to realize what I do want. I want it. It's different levels of what you want, right? There's you know, there's character and there's personality. You know, I was big on character, but I didn't know what that trend, what did that look like? You know, if I'm saying I want a woman with integrity, if I want a woman that's this and that, how does that translate? What is the model of that? How can she demonstrate those things? And sometimes I really didn't know how that translated, although I knew what I wanted. And even when it comes to personality, I really had to figure out certain things that was a little bit deeper. You know, I had to go deeper than just the surface. So I know that now I know what integrity looks like to me. I know what compassion looks like to me. You know, understand what I'm saying? I know what accountability looks like to me. These are the things that I want within a woman. And as I've gotten older, I say to myself, yes, I want a woman that's down to earth, open-minded. I want a woman that's very supportive. So my cousin said, what does support look like, right? What does open-mindedness look like, right? So me being, I work, right? You go to school, you get the degrees, you go to your job, but I also have businesses on the side. And it's becoming time where I'm a creator. So I create different projects. I create in the space, and that's where I'm happy at. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I might look like I'm all over the place. I get it. And I have to bring myself to just one thing and kind of focus on that. And that's what I'm learning to do now. But it has to be a certain type of woman to look at that and not see chaos. It takes a certain type of woman to look at that and not say that, oh, he doesn't look stable or he's all over the place. Open-minded is a woman that can understand, and they may not agree with all of my moves, but understand the space that I am, that I'm in, and understand how I create. Now, for you to come in and support me in that may be hard, but you can come in and understand that I know how he thinks, I feel it, I get it. I can't support everything that he do as far as each individual project, but at least I can support his drive and his determination, the passion that he has. And that's what I look for. That's big more than anything, because I've dated women that did not understand. And although we may have, because I met a lot of great women in my life. I mean, I would never say, I had bad experiences. You have a few bad, but the most was good. But it's just about that compatibility, and understand to be on the same page.
You make a very good point too, by the way. And, here's another thing I think our audience needs to understand. And that is, just because you meet someone that's nice and they're a good person, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a match. Often we get a little discouraged and frustrated when we meet someone and we like them, but it's not necessarily a good fit. There's no need to go into that critical space and just, it's just not a fit. So if at the end of the day you're looking for your queen, so to speak, and you recognize, what, that's not my queen, that's it. You don't have to say, well, she don't do this, she don't, no, pause. It's just, she's just not your queen. And just keep pushing, right? Because at the end of the day, putting that negative energy out there, that also tarnishes your spirit in terms of how critical you're going to be as you meet the next person. So from my perspective, if you're out there dating, from a man's perspective, I'm also going to say that, a woman that is transparent enough, comfortable in herself enough that she can talk and be herself and have the courage to be herself, meaning show me your dents. I know you're not perfect, so stop the campaign. We don't need to do that. Let's breathe easy because you're in your own skin. It's all good. So someone that is transparent enough, someone that is willing to be a friend, and that is, we can talk and we can celebrate life, or we can team up together during tough times. That's something that you want when you're looking for that significant person, someone that is able to be transparent enough in both those wins and those lessons. I think that person, as you mentioned before, a cheerleader, someone that can believe in you. They may not necessarily believe in your latest invention or product or endeavor, but they believe in you and they understand that, your determination, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is this, if you know that man and you get to know him again, going through the dating process, getting to know who he is, because there's a lot of times that certain things may translate to dollars instantly, right? And I'm just talking about finances at this moment. It may not translate to dollars, but if you know who he is, his character, you believe in his passion, you already know that man is going to make things happen. So you have to believe in him, not necessarily his ideas, all of his ideas and his many inventions or whatever it is. If you believe in him, you know that he's not going to walk around here without no money. You know he ain't going to walk around here broke. You know that he has the ambition to do things and make things happen in some way, shape, or form. Now, it may not always be what you want it to be, that he's making that money in, or you might not always believe in that idea, but you know he's going to make things happen. If you believe in that, then you believe in him.
Believe in the individual. So listen, we are coming down on time, but if you're just now tuning in, or if you've been checking us out over the past 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, this is Wednesdays with Wes, every Wednesday on the Relationship Script from 9 to 10 p.m. I got my man Kenyatta, who's repping real well in terms of just, the whole dating scene, the right kind of mindset, what he's looking for, what a lot of guys I'm sure are looking for. Your comments and your feedback have been amazing, and I'm pretty sure I know I'm going to read back through this thread so I can make sure I get everybody.
She said this too good, don't go.
You know, make sure you tell a friend, tell somebody about, you know, the Wednesdays with Wes, and also for everybody that's tuning in right now, please tell them how they can catch up with you, boss man.
Oh, we got Let's Talk Love and Life, the talk show. We did 3 episodes. All right, so let me go real quick as fast as I can. Started out with Love and Life magazine. We transitioned to Let's Talk Love and Life, the talk show. We was doing Let's Talk Love and Life since 2009. Got on local Comcast and Verizon network for a couple of years. I stopped doing it back in 2013. I brought it back. It's going to be on social media now, just like the Red Table Talk is going to be Let's Talk Love and Life. We're going to be showing it, dropping it at the end of September. Just follow my page, Let's Talk Love and Life. You'll see the dates coming up. I'm going to start posting some more clips of the talk shows and what's to come. And you'll see some more projects moving on towards the end of the year. But Let's Talk Love and Life will be out at the end of September. We probably start shooting again sometime the end of November, the next season. So catch us on live. It'll be on, what is it, IG TV and Facebook TV and all those platforms.
All right, good stuff, man. Listen, I really appreciate you joining me, man. And as you already know, we're going to be doing some things in the very near future for my team, for everybody, Team TRS, the relationship script. Please tune in for the next Wednesday with Wes. And you already know, Atlanta, we're coming. You're going to see us October 4th, Sweet Lounge from 6:30 to 10. We're going to shut it down in Atlanta. It's going to be a problem. Yacht, you need to come down, man.
Listen. I did a Let's Talk Love and Life in Atlanta a couple of years ago. When I tell you it was the best thing, it was the best thing ever. Y'all going to have a great time. I know your show will be a big hit. I think I'm gonna come down, dog.
It's gonna be a problem, man. It's gonna be a problem. So listen, this is Donovan Hitchmaster West. You got Yacht. Let's Talk Love and Life. It's been Wednesdays with Wes. We look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure to serve.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you all.
Bless.
Peace.